Cher Président, Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, c'est un grand honneur, un grand plaisir pour moi de m'adresser à vous au nom de GWP Méditerranée en cette occasion, ici dans le Sénat de France, un lieu historique et prestigieux, grâce à l'invitation du sénateur Olivier Cadic de Liban et France, qui a tellement contribué à la promotion de la démocratie, les droits de l'homme, les sciences, la culture, ainsi que la compréhension internationale et la diplomatie. Permettez-moi, Monsieur le Président, de continuer en anglais.
C'est la première fois que je t'entends faire un discours
En français, tout à fait. Moi aussi.
Although human history is a non-linear continuum, with periods of acceleration, decline, stagnation, or smooth progress, the moments we remember and record are those of crisis and opportunities that lead to progress or to catastrophes. The moments of great decisions that mark the future, both the immediate one of the coming few years and the more distant ones for the generations to come. Many times in history, and it's my conviction that we are experiencing today one such occasions, humanity has to address urgent crises and pressures connected to both traditional security issues and natural resources security issues. The latter are exacerbated today by the rapid climate change. The first category of security issues today is the result of political and or socioeconomic crises and armed conflicts, as they were for centuries, linked today on one hand with terrorism and on the other with forced migration due mainly to wars. Terrorism was painfully experienced recently by the French people in this very city and obviously dominates at the moment our hearts and minds. However, this tragedy should not detract us from the second, the medium and long-term security that already affects millions of people and which may cause unprecedented destruction, misery, and cumulative catastrophes throughout the world, including the Mediterranean region, Europe, and France. I'm talking about the impact of climate change to the security of the so-called nexus of water, energy, food, and ecosystems, including there the issues of desalination, hydropower, non-conventional water resources, new types of agriculture, and so on and so forth, an issue on which the organizations I have the honor to chair, namely the Global Water Partnership Mediterranean and the Mediterranean Information Office for Environment, Culture, and Sustainable Development, as well as my UNESCO chair at the University of Athens on Sustainable Management and Education in the Mediterranean, work together with many others, also with the European Environment Agency in Copenhagen, where I have the honor to represent the European Parliament. In fact, the great difficulty with the nexus issues is the immense complexity that requires totally integrated, multifaceted, informed, and coordinated approaches in water, energy, transport, agriculture, and environmental policies at national, regional, the Mediterranean, and global level, in a world that is still characterized by fragmented administrative structures and very frequently outdated, inert, or inefficient governance schemes. In addition, the greatest level of complexity at this moment is to take wise decisions for short, medium, and long-term policy simultaneously and without compromising the first against the second set of decisions. The needed combined approach should avoid the old practice of giving priority to the immediate pressures and needs, neglecting the ones of tomorrow, or the recipe to develop first and clean up later, because tomorrow and later become very soon today, but at a much higher price. Furthermore, decisions of today are on needed infrastructures will determine the choices of future generations, and therefore they have to be properly designed in a climate-proof way. Nowhere on Earth is such complexity in addressing different difficult security issues on various intermingled interests and time horizons is more evident than in the Middle East. Also, perhaps nowhere else than in the Middle East will the implications of good, bad, or no decisions of today be greater for peace, prosperity, and the well-being of the entire Euro-Mediterranean region and beyond. On top of this largely hidden and potentially explosive iceberg on which we sit are the transboundary waters of the region. These are in the center of the water, energy, food, and ecosystem nexus, and most of these transboundary water bodies, despite some attempts and exceptions like the dead red water conveyor that brought together actually three countries that under conditions didn't cooperate, were and still are unsustainably managed by the riparian countries, based on erratic, ad hoc traditions or on totally uncoordinated, empirical, unilateral practices not substantiated by science and modern governance methods. Furthermore, the management of the transboundary waters of the region lack adequate mitigation and adaptation provisions to face today's rapidly changing hydroclimatic regimes, the constantly decreasing water availability, and the increasing frequency of extreme events, both droughts and floods, resulting in major catastrophes. A notorious example is the Nile Delta. If we consider that with the current level of agreements at COP21, as they have been announced today until now, and if no further progress is achieved in the coming days, or at least the coming months or years until the next COP, more than 10 million people will have to be displaced and migrate in the coming decades due to the loss of their living and agricultural lands that will be covered by the rising sea, according to all IPCC scenarios. Please compare this number to the less than 500,000 of current refugee flow into Europe and its consequences, and remember when, where, and under what conditions Islamic fundamentalism is nourished. Against this background, I consider the present colloquium taking place in this particular location as of great substantial and symbolic significance, and I'm thankful to the chairman for inviting this gathering, where we should stress the need to overcome the difficulties by strengthening the collaboration through robust institutions, by approving and properly implementing the strategy for water in the Mediterranean and an ambitious action plan under the Union for the Mediterranean, having the water expert groups of water directors as a strong operational body, and by making full use of the UN 1992 and 1997 transboundary water conventions. This water could advance by applying scientifically and socially sound methods for the management of shared river basins. All countries of the region should be encouraged and, if needed, supported in the implementation of Article 4 of the UN FCCC, which commits parties to develop appropriate and integrated plans for coastal zone management in combination with water resources management. At this end, we just published a new book, the GWP, UNESCO, and UNEP together for the integrative methodological framework to bring all this together. To achieve this, it is necessary to explore climate finance opportunities for water security from the Green Climate Fund, Special Climate Change Fund, domestic, multilateral, and private sector, including risk insurance facilities, foundations, and others. It is also necessary to develop knowledge and capacity building by using new and existing schemes, such as the new SWIM Horizon 2020 support mechanism that I have the honor to chair, and promoting education for sustainable development through the UNESCO Global Action Plan, the Mediterranean Strategy on Education for Sustainable Development, and networks such as MEDIS, and facilitate experience and knowledge transfer and the sharing of successful cases, both north-south and south-south, to other river basins of the region. To this end, I'm grateful on behalf of GWP Med to my very good friend and eminent expert, Dr. Fadi Komer, the Lebanese government, MEMBO, and our colleagues in UNESCO, the universities of Insubria and Milan, and the Italian government, and also the University of Texas in Austin, for their excellent collaboration and support given for the comprehensive work and the book we have collectively realized on the emblematic Orontes River, the river which runs through the most troubled area of our days, crossing Lebanon, Syria, and Turkey. This river is connected to some of the most bloody battles throughout history, such as the Battle of Kadesh in the spring of 1274 BC, before Christ, between Middle East and global powers at the time, namely Pharaoh Ramses and the Hittite king Muwatalli II and his allies, but also the earliest known to historians international peace treaty concluded in 1258 BC between Ramses II and the king Hattushi III. Copy of this treaty, by the way, hangs on the wall of the United Nations headquarters in New York. Let me conclude, Mr. Chairman, by reminding us all that this generation, our generation, seems to be the last one which has the opportunity and power to do something positive for the future generations. If we don't understand that, and if we don't understand our responsibilities in front of them and history, we will be remembered as the worst generation of humankind, because we will be the selfish generation of those who, despite available knowledge and many means, consumed, due to greed and inability, the capital accumulated by all our predecessors, but also who spent the capital borrowed from our children. Personally, I cannot bear such a burden, and I will continue to fight to the end of my life, hopefully together with all of you, employing science, knowledge, rationalism, and idealism, mind and heart, to avoid it. And I do hope that we will make it in the Middle East, in the Mediterranean, Europe and the world, if we manage to build a critical mass of people who believe in it. And this is done through strong political will and extensive public awareness and education. Thank you very much, Chair.